The day my sister's husband called me a cha-righty case in front of my own niece was the day I stopped believing that blood meant anything at all. That I remember the exact temperature of that afternoon because my hands were sweating even though the October breeze was CL. The grill was smoking, burgers were flipping, and my niece Emily had just blown out 10 candles on a pink princess cake that probably cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I stood at the edge of the patio, holding a cheap gift bag with a bookstore gift card inside, watching my family laugh and celebrate like I was invisible furniture. Mark, my sister's husband, had been drinking since noon. I could tell by the way his voice got louder and his eyes got meaner. He was a tall man with a jawline that looked like it had been erode by someone who hated softness, and tonight the alcohol had loosened the last threads of his restraint. He'd been making passive comments all afternoon. So Gerald, still living in that studio, still driving that old Honda, little digs that landed like paper cuts, stinging but too small to bleed over. That I ignored them. I always ignored them. That was my survival strategy for the past 7 years since Helen died. Show up, smile, nod, and leave before the damage became permanent. But that afternoon, something shifted. I'd seen a man on the street corner 3 blocks from my apartment, a man with a road sign that said his daughter was dying, and I'd stopped. I'd sat down next to him on the cold concrete and we talked for 15 minutes. His name was Arthur. He was tired, broken, and wearing a green cap that looked like it had been through a war. I gave him $20 Rs. It was all the cash I had until my pension check cleared next week. He cried. I patted his shoulder. We said goodbye. When I arrived at Mark's house, Mark was already standing in the driveway with his arms crossed. Saw you on the corner, he said, his voice dripping with something that wasn't quite contempt but was getting there fast. Giving away our family money to a bum. You're a retired teacher, Gerald. Not a philanthropist. Act your station. I didn't answer. I walked into the backyard and found my spot near the fence, the one where the shadows fell longest and the conversation was easiest to avoid. But Mark followed me. Of course he followed me. He'd been waiting for this, I realized. Waiting for a reason to finally say what he'd been thinking for years. Uncle Gerald, you're embarrassing us, he announced, loud enough that the entire Rebecca Parudi could hear. 40 people. Neighbors, co-workers, friends from their expensive gym. All of them turned to look at me like I was a stain on the tablecloth. Giving your last $20 to some bum on the street corner, no wonder you ended up a retired teacher with nothing to show for it. Lisa, his wife, laughed. She had a laugh that sounded like breaking glass, sharp and deliberate. She was holding Emily's hand, guiding her away from me like I was contagious. The little girl who used to sit on my lap and ask me to read her bedtime stories now looked at me with the same cold detachment I'd seen in her mother's eyes. Daddy's right, Emily said, her voice small but certain. Grandma says you're poor and we shouldn't touch you. I looked at Margaret. My sister. The woman I'd shared a bedroom with for 16 years, the woman I'd helped put through nursing school when our parents couldn't afford it, the woman whose wedding I'd paid for when her fiancé's family walked out on them. She stood by the sliding glass door with her arms wrapped around herself, refusing to meet my gaze. Her mouth opened once, twice, but nothing came out. Tell him, Margaret, Mark pressed, his voice like a whip crack. Tell him the truth we've all been thinking. She didn't speak. She just shook her head and turned away. Something inside me broke in that moment. Not a clean break, not something you could tape back together, but a jagged shatter that would leave splinters for years. I set the gift bag down on the patio table. The bookstore card was still inside, $50 I'd saved from my own grocery money so Emily could buy whatever she wanted. Margaret, I said softly, I drove 50 miles to be here today. I wanted to see my niece on her birthday. I wanted to be part of a family that I thought still remembered what family meant. Mark stepped closer. His expensive cologne invaded my space, Shah RP and chemical. Family means not EMBA rassing us, Uncle Gerald. Family means knowing your place. You're a lonely old man with no wife, no kids, and no future. You think that cap your wee ring makes you some kind of hero, it makes you look desperate. Pathetic. He reached out and snatched the green cap off my head. Arthur's cap. The one the Beggar had been wee ring. I'd put it on that morning as a reminder of the conversation we'd read, of the humanity I still believed in. That give that back, I said, my voice coming from somewhere deep in my chest. That or what? Mark held it up like a trophy. You'll hit me, you can be a rely, lift your own groceries, old man. This hat is a joke. You're a joke. He tossed it to the ground and stepped on it, grinding the fabric into the grass. Then he laughed and walked back to the grill like nothing had happened. I bent down and picked up the cap. It was dirty now, SMEA red with mud and grass stain. I brushed it off as best I could and tucked it into my pocket. No one helped me. No one said a word. Marga red had disappeared red inside the house. Lisa was taking photos of the cake with her phone. Emily had gone back to playing with her friends, already forgetting that she'd just watched her uncle be humiliated like a dog. That I walked to my car, an old Honda Civic that had seen better decades, and sat in the driver's seat for a long time. The engine wouldn't start. I sat there until the battery died, waiting for someone to come out and check on me, to apologize, to say anything. No one came. Finally, I got out and walked 2 miles to the NEA Rest bus station with the green cap in my pocket, feeling every one of my 66 RS in my aching knees and my heavy RT that night. In my APA it meant, ISTA read at the wall and thought about all the ways I'd been erased. 35 RS of teaching. Thousands of students. Decades of showing up for my sister, for her family, for everyone who ever needed me. And all of it had been reduced to a punchline at a birthday party. But I also thought about Arthur. The man on the corner. The way his eyes had lit up when I sat down next to him, like he hadn't expected anyone to stop. The way he'd thanked me like I'd given him $1 million RS instead of 20. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know if I'd ever see him again. But sitting alone in that APA it meant, I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to let Mark's cruelty be the last word. I wasn't going to let the mud on that cap define who I was. That I was going to keep showing up. For the Arthurs of the world. For the kids like Emily who still had time to RN better. And maybe, just maybe, I was going to find a way to prove that a retired teacher with a worn-out cap still had something worth giving. The next morning, I went back to that street corner. Arthur wasn't there. But someone else was waiting for me. A woman in a dark coat with a manila envelope in her hand. She approached me before I could cross the street. Mr. Gerald Thompson, she asked. That I nodded slowly, my hand instinctively reaching for the green cap in my pocket. That I've been looking for you, she said. My employer would like to meet with you. He said to tell you that the hat you're wearing isn't just a hat. It's an invitation. Her employer. I didn't ask who it was. Something in her eyes told me I already knew. I got into the black sedan she was driving, still holding the dirty cap in my trembling hands, and wondered for the first time in a long time if maybe kindness wasn't just a weakness after all. Maybe it was the beginning of something I couldn't yet see. The car pulled away from the curb, and behind us, the city kept spinning, annoyed that an old teacher with nothing left to lose was about to RN. That the world has a strange way of paying back the debts we thought had been forgotten forever. The black sedan pulled up to a building I'd walked past 1,000 times without ever noticing. Downtown, old brick, a bronze plaque that read, Wellington and Associates, in letters so faded they looked like they'd been there since the last century. The woman in the dark coat held the door for me, and I stepped into a lobby that smelled like leather and old paper, the kind of place where important decisions got made in hushed voices. Her name was Sarah, she told me as we rode the elevator to the 5th floor. She was Arthur's assistant, and she'd been looking for me for 3 days. He doesn't trust phones, she said with a tight smile. Says they lie. People lie less when they have to look you in the eye. She wasn't wrong about that. The office at the end of the hall was modest. No mahogany panels, no giant desk. Just a worn leather chair, a bookshelf stuffed with legal volumes, and a man in a green cap sitting by the window. Arthur. The Beggar from the corner. He looked different now, clean-shaven, dressed in a simple wool sweater, but his eyes were the same. Tired. Sea urchin. Hopeful. Gerald, he said, standing to shake my hand. His grip was firm but ca reeful, like he was holding something fragile. Thank you for coming. I wasn't sure you would. I sat across from him, the dirty cap still in my pocket. You could have just called. Save me the heart attack. He laughed, a quiet sound that didn't reach his eyes. I tried that once. It didn't go well. People hang up on strangers. But they'll come if you send a car, human nature. I didn't know what to say to that, so I waited. He poured 2 cups of tea from a pot on the windowsill, herbal something that smelled like cinnamon and regret. I owe you an explanation, he said, settling back into his chair. And I owe you more than $20 though I suspect you didn't give it to me expecting repayment. I didn't give it to you expecting anything. Exactly. He pointed at me with his cup. That's the part that matters. You see, I've been wealthy for most of my life. Not comfortable. Not well off. Wealthy. The kind of wealth that comes with a family name and a trust fund and a house in the Hamptons that you're too afraid to visit because it reminds you of everything you've lost. I stayed quiet. I'd learned in 35 years of teaching that sometimes the best thing you could do for someone was just sit and listen. Arthur told me about his wife, Eleanor, who died 2 years ago in a car accident. His daughter, Grace, had been in the passenger seat. She was 24, a recent graduate, and she'd been wearing that green cap when the truck ran the red light and ended their lives in a split second. After they died, I didn't worry about anything, he said. The money, the business, the house, none of it mattered. I walked away from everything. I'd been walking for months, actually. Just walking and sleeping on benches and seeing if the world still had anything left to offer me. He took a long sip of his tea. Mostly, it didn't. People looked through me. Stepped around me. One man kicked me for taking up too much sidewalk. But then you came along, and you sat down next to me, and you didn't ask for anything. You just looked at me like I was human. I felt my throat tighten. You looked like you needed someone to see you. I did. He set the cup down and leaned four-way road, and because of that, I want to offer you something. Not charity. You've made it clear you don't take charity. But a partnership. I'm rooting a foundation. The Wellington Foundation. It'll focus on education for underprivileged children. I need someone to run it. Someone who knows the system, who knows the kids, who knows what it feels like to give the last dollar in your pocket because it's the right thing to do. I shook my head before he even finished. I'm a retired teacher, Arthur. I don't know anything about running a foundation. You know more than anyone I've ever met, he said. You know how to inspire. You know how to give without expecting anything back. You know how to make a child feel like they matter. That's not a skill you learn in business school. That's a skill you learn in a classroom with too many students and too few books. I looked down at my hands. They were old now, spotted with age, but they'd done a lot of good work over the years. I'd written thousands of reports cards, handed out hundreds of pencils, hugged more crying students than I could count. And I'd been told that didn't matter. Not by the system, but by my own family. What about my nephew? I asked suddenly. Mark. I stopped. I didn't know how to explain it. Arthur nodded slowly. Sarah told me about the video. The barbecue. I saw what he did to you. What he said. It's not about him, I said quickly. It's about the fact that I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I have anything left to give. Arthur stood up and walked to the window. The city sprawled below us, grey and tangled. When I lost my family, I thought I had nothing left. I thought I'd used up all my giving. But then I met a child on the street corner, and I realized that the only thing that had kept me alive was the small kindnesses I'd experienced over the years. The teacher who stayed after class to help me with math. The neighbor who brought me soup when I was sick. The stranger who gave me $20 and sat with me until I stopped crying. He turned back to face me. Gerald, I'm not offering you a job because I feel sorry for you. I'm offering you a job because I know, with absolute certainty, that you are the only person on this planet who can do what I need you to do. And I'm offering you the chance to show your family that they were wrong about you. Not to get revenge. To show them what real success looks like. That word, revenge, made me flinch. I didn't want revenge. I didn't even want an apology, not really. What I wanted was to matter again. I'll think about it, I said finally. I need time. Arthur nodded. Take all the time you need. But Gerald, do me one favor. Keep the hat. The green cap. It reminds me of the person I want to be, and I think it might remind you of the person you already are. I pulled the dirty cap out of my pocket and looked at it. Smudged with grass, stained from Mark's shoe, but still intact. I cleaned it for you, Arthur said with a small smile. But it got dirty again. I laughed for the first time in weeks. It felt rusty, like an old engine turning over. It's been a rough couple of days. I know. But you're still here. That counts for something. I didn't go home right away. Instead, I walked through the city, past the street corner where I'd met Arthur, past the school where I'd taught for 20 years before I retired. The building looked the same. Red brick, chain-link fence, a sign that said, Chicago Public Schools, in bold letters. I stood at the gate and watched the kids playing on the blacktop. Third graders, maybe fourth. They were laughing, chasing each other in circles, completely annoyed that an old man with a dirty cap was crying on the sidewalk. I thought about my students. The ones who'd come back to visit years later, grown and successful, thanking me for believing in them. I thought about the ones who dropped out, the ones I'd failed, the ones I still prayed for at night. Teaching wasn't a job. It was a calling. And I'd walked away from it because the pension was better and I thought I'd done enough. Maybe I wasn't done that evening. I called Samuel. My lawyer friend, the one who'd helped me with Helen's medical bills. He picked up on the first ring. Gerald, I've been trying to reach you. There's something we need to talk about. About what? I asked, sitting on my couch with the green cap in my lap. The Wellington Foundation, he said. I did some digging. Arthur Wellington, he's not just wealthy, Gerald. He's worth over 30 million. And he's got a reputation for being impossible to work with. Word is, he's been looking for a successor for years, someone to run his charity operations. He's turned down dozens of applicants. I was quiet. That I'm not telling you to say no, Samuel continued. I'm telling you to be careful. This man is offering you the world, but people like that don't give things away for free. There's always a catch. Maybe the catch is that he's a broken man who needs someone to believe in, I said quietly. Or maybe the catch is that he's testing you. You helped him once, Gerald. He might be trying to figure out if you'll do it again when the stakes are higher. I thought about that. About Arthur's eyes, the way he'd looked at me like I was the only person who could save him. And I thought about Mark's eyes at the barbecue, the contempt that had hardened into cruelty. I don't see about the catch, I said finally. I see about the kids. I see about doing something that matters. I've been invisible for too long, Sam. I want to be seen again. Samuel was quiet for a long moment. Then take the job, Gerald. But promise me one thing. Promise me you'll protect yourself. Don't let anyone make you invisible again. I promised that the next morning, I called Sa and told her I was in. The Wellington Foundation was going to be my new home. I had no idea what I was getting into. But for the first time since Helen died, I felt something that wasn't grief or guilt. It was hope, and it tasted like cinnamon tea and old leather and the faint echo of children laughing on a blacktop. Before I hung up, Sa said one more thing. Arthur wants you to know that the cap is a gift. It's not a symbol of his gratitude. It's a symbol of his faith. He says you'll understand when the time comes. I didn't understand, not yet. But I slipped the cap onto my head, felt the fabric against my forehead, and smiled. Somewhere in this city, Mark was still the vice president of something or other, still making his wife laugh with that awful sound, still teaching Emily that love had conditions and worth was measured in $Rs. Somewhere in this city, Arthur was still grieving, still searching for meaning, still hoping that kindness could survive the cruelty of the world. And somewhere in the middle, an old retired teacher with a green cap and a faded pension check was about to prove that the people you step on are the ones who will lift you up when you least expect it. That I walked back to the apartment, ignoring the pain in my knees and the ache in my shoulders. The hat was warm against my head, a gentle pressure that reminded me I was still here. Still standing. Still fighting. And I had no idea that the biggest battle was just beginning. The Wellington Foundation opened its doors on a Tuesday in November, 2 weeks after I'd said yes to Arthur's offer. The office was small, just 3 rooms in a converted warehouse near the old rail yards, but it had windows that let in the gray Chicago light and a coffee machine that actually worked. I'd spent the first week just learning the names of the staff, 5 people who'd been working with Arthur for years and who looked at me like I was a substitute teacher they didn't trust. I didn't blame them. I was a stranger wearing a dead man's hat, and they'd seen plenty of strangers come and go. The first few weeks were chaos. Paperwork I didn't understand, budgets that made my head spin, meetings with people who used words like synergy and strategic alignment as if they were speaking a foreign language. I kept my head down and my mouth shut, letting the numbers wash over me while I focused on what I did know, the kids, the schools, the neighborhoods that had been forgotten by everyone except the people who lived there. Arthur had given me full authority to design the educational programs. You're the expert, he'd said. I'm just the money. Don't let me get in the way. I didn't. ISTA root small, targeting 3 schools in the worst districts. We'd provide after-school tutoring, weekend enrichment, and a meal program that served hot dinners to kids who otherwise would have gone hungry. My first staff meeting was a disaster. The budget team wanted to cut corners. The communications director wanted to launch a social media campaign before we even had a program to show. I'd looked around the table at all these young, ambitious faces and realized that no one in this room had ever taught a child to read. Let's focus on the basics, I said, my voice steady. We can't build a foundation if the walls are crumbling. We need to see results first. Real results. Then we can worry about the branding. I didn't get a lot of arguments after that. But the real work sta root when I visited the schools. The principal at East Side Elementary was a woman named Deborah, about my age, with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much disappointment to get excited about a new program. Mr. Thompson, she said, shaking my hand with a grip that told me she'd survived worse than me, I appreciate the offer, but we've had a dozen foundations come through here in the past 5 years. They all promise the world, and they all leave after 6 months when the funding dries up. My kids don't need more hope. They need consistency. I didn't argue. I just showed up the next day. And the day after that. I brought coffee for the teachers, snacks for the kids, and patience for everyone. I sat in the back of classrooms and took notes like a student. I ate lunch in the cafeteria and listened to the kids talk about their lives, their struggles, their dreams. That I found out what they needed. Not what the foundation thought they needed, but what they actually needed. More books. A working printer. A counselor who spoke Spanish. Permission slips that didn't require a pa-rent to miss work to fill them out. Week by week, IEA reneged their trust. Meanwhile, MARK's world was falling apart, though I didn't know it yet. The video from the barbecue had spread further than anyone expected. A local blogger had posted it with the headline, "Wealthy Banker Humiliates Retired Teacher Uncle for Helping Homeless Man." It went viral in the Chicago business community, and MARK's company had responded with the predictable corporate cow erode. He was put on leave. Then he was quietly let go. Lisa stopped posting on social media. Emily's school friends sta route asking questions she didn't know how to answer. It was Margaret who called me first, 3 weeks into the foundation's work. I was in my office, reviewing funding requests, when my phone buzzed with her name. I almost didn't answer. But something in me, some stubborn thread of family loyalty, made me pick up. "Gerald, please don't hang up," she said, her voice shaking. "I know I don't deserve to talk to you. I know I failed you. But Mark is gone. He left. He said he couldn't live with the shame, and he packed a bag and left." I leaned back in my chair, the green cap on my desk. "That's not my problem, Margaret. I know it's not. But Emily, she's asking questions. About what happened at the barbecue. About you. She saw the video, Gerald. Someone showed it to her at school. She's been crying for days. She wants to see you." I closed my eyes. The memory of Emily's laugh, that cold 10-year-old laugh, still cut like glass. She laughed at me, Margaret. She told me I was poor and I shouldn't be touched. "Do you have any idea what that felt like?" "I do now," she said, and I heard the TRS in her voice. "I've been watching the news coverage. I've seen what you're doing with the foundation. You're helping children, Gerald. You're changing lives. And I watched Mark humiliate you in front of everyone, and I didn't say a word. I'll never forgive myself for that." I was quiet. I didn't know what to say to her. The anger was still there, buried under layers of exhaustion, but it was fading. "I don't need your guilt, Margaret. I need you to understand what you did. What you let happen." "I understand," she whispered. "I understand everything now. Please, Gerald. Just give Emily a chance. She's just a child. She's running from us. From me. From her father. And I'm going to do better. I swear I'm going to do better." I held the phone in my hand and listened to my sister cry. I thought about Arthur, who'd lost everything and found his way back because a stranger showed him kindness. I thought about the kids at East Side, the ones who'd been failed by everyone but still showed up every morning with hope in their eyes. "Bring her to the office," I said finally. "Sunday afternoon. We'll talk." Sunday came, gray and cold. I'd spent the morning at the school, setting up the new book donation program, and I arrived back at the office just as Margaret pulled into the lot. She stepped out first, then Emily. The little girl was wearing a purple coat, her hair pulled back, and she looked smaller than I remembered, less like a miniature version of her mother and more like a child who'd been crying too much. She walked up to me with her head down, her hands clenched at her sides. "Uncle Gerald, I'm sorry," she said, her voice rely above a whisper. "I didn't mean what I said. I was being mean, and I didn't know it was mean, and I'm so sorry." I crouched down to her level. "Emily, look at me." She raised her eyes. They were red from crying, and there was something else there too. Shame. Real shame. "Do you understand what happened that day?" I asked her gently. "That you helped someone," she said. "A poor person. And Daddy made fun of you." And I laughed because I thought I was supposed to. Because everyone else was laughing. I nodded slowly. "Do you think it was right to laugh at someone for being kind?" She shook her head. "No. And I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be like Daddy. He was mean, and now he's gone, and I miss him, but I don't want to be mean like him. Margaret was standing behind her, crying silently. I looked at my sister, at the weight of her failure etched into her face, and I felt something shift inside me. The anger wasn't gone, but it was making room for something else. How about this? I said to Emily. You come here. You volunteer with me. You help me sort books for the kids at the school. And you learn what it means to be kind. Really kind. Not just with your words, but with your actions. Can you do that? Her face lit up. Yes, Uncle Gerald. I can do that. I hugged her then, the first hug we'd shared in months, and I let her pull away when she was ready. Margaret hugged me too, aqua rd and tearful, and I let her. Thank you, Gerald, she whispered. I know I don't deserve this. No, I said quietly. You don't. But I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it for her. For the child she still has a chance to be. We spent the rest of the afternoon sorting books in the little office. Emily was a natural, reading the titles aloud, asking questions about each one, imagining which child would love which story. I watched her lose herself in the work, and I saw a flicker of something I'd thought was gone forever. Hope. For her, for Margaret, for the family we'd been before Mark had twisted us into something broken. When they left, I sat in my office with the green cap in my hands, thinking about Arthur's words. Pass it on. Find someone who deserves it. I didn't know if Emily deserved it yet. But I knew she could learn. And that was enough. That night, I got another call. This one was from Samuel, and his voice was urgent. Gerald, you need to sit down. What happened? It's Arthur, he said. There's something you need to know about his daughter. The one who died in the accident. She wasn't just his daughter. She was also his heir. The entire foundation was supposed to go to her. And the man who's been contesting the will. The one who's been trying to shut down the foundation before it even starts. I felt the cold dread creep into my chest. Who? Mark, Gerald. Your nephew Mark. He was connected to the law firm that represented the other Parudi in the accident. The trucking company. He knew Arthur. He knew the whole story. And he knew exactly who you were when he humiliated you at that barbecue. The room spun. I gripped the edge of my desk, the green cap slipping from my fingers and falling to the floor. Samuel, I said slowly, what are you telling me? I'm telling you that Mark didn't just mock you by accident. He knew Arthur. He knew the foundation. And he knew that Arthur was looking for someone to run it. He tried to make sure that no one would take you seriously. He tried to destroy you before you ever got a root. And now, he's trying to tear down everything you've built. The pieces clicked together like a puzzle I hadn't known I was solving. The timing. The cruelty. The video that went viral. Mark's sudden departure. It hadn't been random. It had been calculated. He'd been trying to keep me small, to keep me invisible, because he was afraid of what I might become. I picked the cap up off the floor and held it to my chest. The fabric was cold, like the truth that had just landed in my lap. Thank you, Samuel, I said quietly. I need to make some calls. What are you going to do? I looked out the window at the city, the arcade and unforgiving, and I thought about all the ways I'd been underestimated. All the ways I'd been told I wasn't enough. I'm going to show them all, I said, what a man with nothing left to lose can do. I sat in my office for an hour after Samuel's call, the green cap resting on my knee like a dead weight. The city had gone to arcade outside the windows, just scattered lights from the rail yards and the distant glow of downtown. I didn't turn on the lamp. I sat in the shadows and let the truth settle into my bones. Mark knew. He'd known who Arthur was. He'd known about the foundation. And instead of telling me, instead of warning me, he'd chosen to humiliate me in front of everyone I loved. He'd stepped on my cap. He'd called me pathetic. He'd made sure the video spread. The question was why? What did he have to gain from keeping me small? I called Samuel back. Tell me everything. Don't leave anything out. He took a breath. The trucking company that killed Arthur's wife and daughter was owned by a holding company. That holding company was PARTLY financed by a Chicago-based investment firm where Mark was a junior partner. He wasn't directly involved in the accident, but he knew about the case. He knew about Arthur's grief. He knew about the foundation Arthur was planning to start in his daughter's memory. And he knew Arthur was looking for someone to run it. Yes. He'd been following the story for years. When he saw the video of you helping Arthur on that street corner, he recognized the cap. He knew exactly who you'd helped. And he knew that Arthur would probably reach out to you. The man had been searching for someone with your profile. Kind, selfless, experienced with children. I closed my eyes. The pieces were fitting together like they'd been designed to break me. Mark tried to stop it, Samuel continued. He didn't just humiliate you. He recorded it. He made sure the video went viral so that Arthur would see it and think you were a victim, not a hero. He wanted to taint your reputation, make you look weak. But it backfired. The public took your side. And Arthur reached out anyway. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. He failed. He tried to destroy me, and he failed. He did. But he's not done. The law firm that represented the trucking company is contesting Arthur's will. They're arguing that the foundation should be dissolved and the assets redistributed to the company's shareholders. And Mark is involved. He's been feeding them information. He's trying to take everything Arthur built. I stood up. My knees popped. My back ached. But something else was happening too. A fire I hadn't felt since Helen died, a resolve that burned through the numbness. Sam, I need you to do something for me. I need you to find out everything you can about that law firm. Every detail. Every connection. And I need you to keep it quiet. Gerald, what are you planning? I'm planning to protect what Arthur trusted me to build. I'm planning to protect the kids. And I'm planning to make sure Mark never gets the chance to hurt anyone again. The next morning, I went to see Arthur. He was in his office, the same worn leather chair, the same tea on the windowsill. But he looked different now, tired in a way that went deeper than sleep. You know, he said before I even sat down. About Mark. About the firm. Yes. He nodded slowly. I should have told you liar. I was trying to protect you. I thought if you didn't know, you wouldn't be dragged into the fight. But that was foolish. You were already in it. The moment you sat down next to me on that street corner, you were in it. I'm not angry, I said, and I meant it. I'm just trying to understand. Why did you choose me? You must have known I was connected to him. You must have known the risk. Arthur set his cup down and looked at me with those tired, sea-urchin eyes. Because I saw you give your last $20 to a man you didn't know. I saw you sit with him and treat him like he mattered. And I thought, if this man has a monster in his family, it's not his fault. It's the monster's fault. And I wanted to give you something the monster could never take away. I felt the words land like a punch to the chest. What's that? The chance. A chance to be seen. A chance to matter. A chance to prove that the people who step on you don't get to write your story. I looked at the green cap in my hands, the one I'd worn every day since our first meeting. It was faded now, the fabric soft from use, but it still carried the weight of everything it represented. Arthur, I'm going to fight this. I'm going to fight Mark and his lawyers and anyone else who tries to tear down what we've built. But I need to know. Are you with me? He smiled. It was the first real smile I'd seen from him. Gerald, I've been waiting my whole life for someone to ask me that. And the answer is yes. I'm with you to the end. The next few weeks were a blur. Samuel worked day and night, digging into the law firm's records, building a case that would expose Mark's involvement. I threw myself into the foundation's work, visiting schools, meeting with parents, expanding our programs. I didn't let the threat of legal action slow me down. If anything, it made me move faster. But the real turning point came on a cold December morning, when Emily showed up at my office with a folder in her hands. "Uncle Gerald," she said, her voice shaking, "I found something. In Daddy's old study. He left some papers behind when he moved out. I didn't mean to snoop, but I was looking for my homework, and I found this." She handed me the folder. Inside were emails. Printouts of correspondence between Mark and the law firm, discussing the foundation, discussing Arthur, discussing me. It was all there. His plan to sabotage me. His plan to make sure Arthur would never trust me. His plan to dissolve the foundation and take the money for himself. I read every page in silence, my hands trembling. Emily stood by the door, watching me with frightened eyes. "Uncle Gerald, is Daddy a bad person?" I looked at her. She was just a child, carrying the weight of her father's sins. I wanted to tell her the truth. I wanted to protect her from it. "Your daddy made some bad choices," I said ruefully. "He hurt people. He hurt me. But that doesn't mean he's a bad person. It means he's a person who needs to learn. And I think, one day, he will." She nodded slowly, not quite understanding but wanting to. "Are you going to hurt him back?" I knelt down and took her hands. "No, Emily. I'm not going to hurt him back. I'm going to show him something better. I'm going to show him what it looks like to win without destroying anyone." I took the folder to Arthur. We sat in his office, the city gray and silent outside the window, and went through every page together. "This is enough," Arthur said finally. "This is enough to stop them. Enough to expose the whole scheme." "But if we expose it," I said, "Mark goes to prison. Emily loses her father. Margaret loses her husband. Is that what we want?" Arthur looked at me. His eyes were sharp, calculating. "What do you want, Gerald?" I thought about it. I thought about the barbecue, the humiliation, the rs of being invisible. I thought about the kids at East Side, the ones who were finally getting a chance because of this foundation. And I thought about Emily, standing in my office with her father's sins in her hands. "I want to win," I said slowly. "But I don't want to destroy anyone to do it. If we expose Mark, we trapart the only family he has left. And I've already lost too much family to let that happen." Arthur leaned forward. "Then what's your plan?" I told him. The next day, I called Mark. He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting for it. "Uncle Gerald," he said, his voice flat. "I've been expecting your call." "I know you have," I said. "And I know everything, Mark. The emails. The law firm. The scheme to destroy the foundation. It's all here." He was quiet for a long moment. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to give you a choice," I said. "You can walk away from all of it. You can walk away from the law firm, from the money, from the scheme. You can sign a statement acknowledging your involvement and agreeing to step away permanently. In exchange, we won't press charges. We won't expose you publicly. Emily won't have to know everything her father did." "And what will I get out of this?" "Nothing," I said. "Except your freedom. Except the chance to be part of Emily's life. Except the chance to become someone she can be proud of. That's all you get." He was silent again. I could hear him breathing, ragged and uneven. "Why are you doing this?" he finally asked. "After everything I did to you. Why are you letting me walk away?" I thought about Arthur's words. About kindness and second chances and the strange power of forgiveness. Because I know what it's like to lose everything, I said. And I know what it's like to be given a second chance. You don't deserve it, Mark. But maybe, one day, you'll grow into it. Mark signed the statement. He walked away from the law firm and the scheme and all of it. Arthur withdrew the legal complaint. The foundation was safe. The kids were safe. And Emily still had her father. I went back to my office that night and sat alone, the green cap on my head, STA ring out at the city. I'd won. But winning didn't feel like I'd expected. It felt quiet. It felt heavy. It felt like the beginning of something I didn't quite understand yet. That Arthur knocked on my door and came in without waiting for an answer. He handed me a cup of tea and sat down across from me. You did the right thing, Gerald. I don't know, I said. I feel like I should have punished him. Like I should have made him pay. Arthur shook his head. Punishment doesn't fix anything. It just makes the wound deeper. You broke the cycle. That's harder than revenge. And it matters more. I held the cap in my hands and thought about everything I'd been through. The humiliation, the grief, the long road back to believing in myself. I'd come a long way. But I had a feeling I still had a long way to go. The winter settled over Chicago like a blanket you couldn't shake off. January brought ice storms and frozen pipes and the kind of cold that seeped through walls and into bones. I spent most of my days at the foundation, bundled in layers, drinking too much coffee, and watching our little operation grow into something I'd never imagined possible. 3 schools had become 7. 7 had become 12. We'd hired 4 more teachers, 2 counselors, and a part-time nurse who volunteered her weekends because she believed in what we were doing. The meal program was serving over 200 dinners a night. The tutoring sessions were packed with kids who'd never had anyone stay after school to help them before. And Emily was there for all of it. She'd STA route coming every Saturday, sometimes with Marga Ret, sometimes alone. She'd Ned to sort books, pack backpacks, and greet the younger kids with a smile that reminded me of who she'd been before Mark's influence had twisted her. The coldness was fading. The cruelty was retreating. In its place was something softer, something that looked a lot like the niece I'd once read bedtime stories to. You're good at this, I told her one Saturday afternoon, watching her help a first grader sound out a word. She shrugged, but I could see the pride in her eyes. I like it. It feels like I'm actually doing something that matters. That's because you are. She looked up at me, and there was something serious in her expression. Uncle Gerald, do you think Daddy will ever come back, like, really come back, not just come home, but come back to being a good person? I set down the stack of books I was holding. I don't know, Emily. I hope so. But that's up to him. All you can do is keep being the person you want to be, whether he's here or not. She nodded slowly. I want to be like you. I want to help people. I want to be the kind of person who gives even when they don't have much. I felt my throat tighten. That's all I ever wanted for you, sweet Art. That's all any of us should want. But while I was building something new, Mark was falling apart somewhere else. I heard it through the grapevine, through Marga Ret's tearful phone calls and Samuel's cautious updates. He'd lost his job, his reputation, and most of his savings to the legal fees. He was living in a studio apartment on the far side of the city, working odd jobs, trying to stay sober. He'd reached out to Marga Ret once, just once, and she'd told him he wasn't welcome home until he'd proven he'd changed. I didn't feel sorry for him. Not yet. But I didn't feel the anger I'd expected, either. Mostly, I just felt tired. Arthur noticed. He'd STA route coming to the office more often, sitting in the corner with his tea, watching me work. One afternoon, he pulled me aside after a staff meeting. Gerald, you've been running on empty for months. You need to take a break. I can't take a break. There's too much to do. There will always be too much to do. That's not a reason to burn out. Trust me, I know. He looked at me with those tired eyes, the ones that had seen too much loss. I spent 2 years wandering because I didn't know how to stop. Don't make the same mistake. I opened my mouth to erode, but nothing came out. He was right. I was exhausted. The kind of exhaustion that sat in your bones and made everything feel twice as heavy. Fine, I said. I'll take Sunday off. But just Sunday. Good. And Gerald, take the cap with you. It'll remind you why you're doing this. I looked at the green cap on my desk, the one I'd worn every day for months. It was more than a symbol now. It was a part of me. Sunday came, and I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to the lake. Lake Michigan, frozen at the edges, gray and vast and endless. I walked along the shore, the cap on my head, the wind whipping through my coat, and I let myself think. I thought about Helen. About the life we'd built together, the one I'd let fall apart after she died. I thought about all the years I'd spent teaching, all the kids I'd reached, all the ones I'd failed. I thought about Arthur, who'd lost everything and found a reason to keep going anyway. And I thought about Mark, who was still lost, still angry, still searching for something he didn't know how to find. I sat on a bench near the water and watched the gulls circle overhead. The cold seeped through my gloves, but I didn't move. A voice behind me made me turn. Mr. Thompson, I looked up. A young woman was standing there, bundled in a heavy coat, her face red from the wind. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her. It's Maya, she said, stepping closer. Maya Rodriguez. You gave me a scholarship. I was at East Side Elementary. Then I remembered. The first success story. The girl who'd been failing algebra, who turned her grades around with our tutoring program. She'd been in the news, the one who'd made the foundation's reputation. Maya, I said, standing up. I didn't recognize you. You've grown. She laughed. It's been 2 years, Mr. Thompson. I'm in high school now. Top of my class. That's wonderful. That's really wonderful. I've been looking for you, she said. I wanted to thank you. Properly. I'm the first person in my family to go to college, and it's because of you. Because of what you gave me. I shook my head. I didn't give you anything. You did the work. You rented it. No, Mr. Thompson. You gave me the chance. You gave me a place to go after school where someone actually believed in me. Do you have any idea what that means to someone like me? I didn't know what to say. I just stood there, this young woman who'd once been a struggling student, now bright and confident and full of promise. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something small. A green cap. Not the same one I wore, but one that looked almost identical. I found this at a thrift store, she said. I've been carrying it around for months. I wanted to give it to you. As a thank you. A symbol of everything you've done for me. I looked at the cap, then at her face, and I felt something break open inside me. Not the jagged shatter of grief or anger, but something softer, something that felt like hope finally taking root. You keep it, I said. We are it. And when you're successful, when you've built something of your own, pass it on to someone else. That's what it's for. That's what everything is for. She smiled, tears in her eyes, and put the cap on. It was a little too big, but she didn't seem to see a thank you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for proving me right, I said. I walked back to the car feeling lighter than I had in months. The meeting with Maya had ridged something in me, reminded me why I'd root this journey in the first place. It wasn't about the money. It wasn't about proving Mark wrong. It was about the kids. It had always been about the kids. The week that followed was one of the busiest of my life. We launched a new program for high school students, partnered with a community college for dual enrollment, and hosted a fundraiser that brought in more donations than we'd ever seen. I was in the office every day, night, and most weekends, driven by a sense of purpose I hadn't felt since Helen was alive. But late one night, as I was locking up, I saw a figure waiting by my car. A man, hunched against the cold, his face hidden in the shadows of his hood. Uncle Gerald. It was Mark that I stopped. My hand went to my pocket, where I kept my phone. Mark. What are you doing here? He stepped into the light. He looked different. Thinner, paler, with the RK circles under his eyes and a tremor in his hands. I need to talk to you. Please. Just give me 5 minutes. I studied him. He looked broken, genuinely broken, in a way I'd never seen before. The arrogance was gone. The cruelty was gone. All that was left was a man who'd hit rock bottom and didn't know how to climb back up. 5 minutes, I said. Start talking. He took a shaky breath. I know what I did to you. I know I was terrible. I was jealous, Uncle Gerald. I was jealous of your kindness. I was jealous that you had something I didn't. Something I couldn't buy. And instead of trying to understand it, I tried to destroy it. He wiped his eyes. I lost everything. My job, my wife, my daughter. I'm living in a place where the heat doesn't work half the time. I've been sober for 3 weeks, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done. But I'm not asking for your pity. I'm not asking for your forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance. Just one chance to show you I can be better. I leaned against my car and looked at him. This man who'd humiliated me in front of my own family, who'd tried to destroy everything I'd built, who'd made me feel small and invisible and worthless. Why should I give you that chance? I asked quietly. Because you gave it to Arthur, he said. A stranger on the street. And because I know you, Uncle Gerald. I know you're a better man than me. I know you're a better man than I'll ever be. But I want to try. I want to be the kind of person who deserves to be your nephew. I thought about the green cap in my pocket. About Arthur's words, about passing it on to someone who deserved it. And I thought about Emily, standing in my office, asking if her father was a bad person. Mark, I said, I'm not going to give you a chance because you deserve it. I'm going to give you a chance because it's the right thing to do. And because your daughter deserves to see her father fight for something worth fighting for. He collapsed against the car, sobbing. I stood there and let him, not touching him, but not walking away either. You'll start tomorrow, I said. At the foundation. You'll work with the kids. You'll see what it means to give without expecting anything in return. And maybe, just maybe, you'll learn to be the man Emily needs you to be. He looked up at me, his face wet with tears. Thank you, Uncle Gerald. I won't let you down. I hope not, I said. Because I've given you more chances than you deserve. Don't waste them. The first morning Mark showed up at the foundation, I almost didn't recognize him. He was wearing a plain gray sweater, no suit, no expensive watch. His hair was cut short and neat, and his hands were steady when he reached out to shake mine. I'm ready, he said. Tell me what to do. I looked at him for a long moment. The old Mark would have been impatient, demanding, condescending. This Mark was quiet. Humble. Uncertain. Follow me, I said. I took him to the supply room, where boxes of donated books were stacked to the ceiling. Sort these. Elementary fiction in the blue bins, non-fiction in the red bins, everything else in the yellow. We're sending them to 3 schools this week. Do not mix them up. He nodded and got to work. I watched him for a few minutes, waiting for the sarcastic comment or the eye roll, but neither came. He just sorted books, methodically, carefully, like he was trying to prove something to himself. I left him alone and went to my office. Emily was there, waiting for me. She'd come early, as she always did on Saturdays, and she'd already sta route packing backpacks in the corner. Uncle Gerald, is Daddy here? I sat down across from her. He is. He's in the supply room sorting books. She looked toward the door, her expression unreadable. Did you tell him I'd be here? No. I thought you should decide if you wanted to see him. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she stood up, walked to the door, and looked down the hall toward the supply room. I followed her, staying a few steps behind. Mark was bent over a box of books, his back to us, his sleeves rolled up. Emily stood in the doorway, watching him. He hadn't noticed us yet. Dad, she said, her voice small. He turned. His face went pale, then red, then pale again. Emily. I didn't know you'd be here. I'm here every Saturday, she said. I help Uncle Gerald. I've been helping for months. He wiped his hands on his jeans and took a step toward her, then stopped, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to get closer. That's good. That's really good, Em. I'm proud of you. She crossed her arms. You left. You didn't even say goodbye. The words hung in the air, sharp and painful. Mark looked down at his hands. I know. I know I did. And I'm so sorry, honey. I was so lost. I didn't know how to face anyone. Especially you. You could have at least tried. He nodded slowly. You're right. I should have. I was weak. I was red. But I'm here now. And I'm going to stay. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to try to be someone you can be proud of. I know it'll take time. I know I don't deserve it. But I want to in it. If you'll let me. Emily looked at him, and I saw the in her eyes. The hurt and the anger fighting against the love that was still there, buried but not dead. She walked over to him slowly, deliberately, and she hugged him. It was a stiff hug, awkward and ca refill, but it was a hug. Mark's arms came up around her, and I saw his shoulders start to shake. I missed you, Daddy, she whispered. I missed you too, sweet art. I missed you every single day. I left them alone and went back to my office. My hands were shaking. I sat down at my desk and put my head in my hands. The day had root with so much uncertainty, but something had shifted. Something good. Mark worked through the morning, sorting books, packing boxes, moving with a quiet efficiency that surprised me. He didn't complain about the cold or the dust or the heavy lifting. He just worked. At noon, I brought him a sandwich and a cup of coffee. Take a break, I said. He nodded and sat on a stack of boxes. Thank you, Uncle Gerald. For today. For everything. Don't thank me yet. The day's not over. He almost smiled. I know. But I need you to know that this means everything to me. Being here. Being useful. I didn't realize how much I needed to feel useful. I sat across from him. Mark, I'm not going to pretend I've forgotten what you did. I haven't. And I'm not going to pretend I trust you completely. I don't. But I believe in second chances. I believe that people can change. And I believe that you're going to prove me right. He looked at me, and there were tears in his eyes. I'm going to try, Uncle Gerald. I'm going to try harder than I've ever tried anything. That's all I ask. The weeks that followed were a slow, refill dance. Mark came to the foundation every day, rain or shine. He worked with the kids, the teachers, the volunteers. He was patient and gentle in a way I'd never seen before. He tutored a boy named Americus who was struggling with reading, and when Americus finally sounded out a whole sentence without help, Mark hugged him like he was his own son. Emily root coming more often, sometimes with Marga Ret, sometimes alone. She and Mark ate lunch together in the break room, talking quietly about school and friends and her plans for the future. The ice between them was melting, slowly but surely. Marga read sta root coming too. She'd sit in my office sometimes, watching me work, not saying much. One afternoon, she broke the silence. Gerald, I'm so sorry. For everything. For the Rebecca. For not standing up for you. For letting Mark treat you that way. I've been carrying that guilt for so long. I looked at her. My sister. The woman who'd once been my closest ally, who drifted so far away I'd forgotten what it felt like to have her on my side. And know you're sorry, Marga ret. I know you mean it. But I need you to understand something. I didn't do any of this for you. I didn't do it for Mark. I did it for Emily. And I did it for myself. Because I needed to prove that I could still matter. That I could still make a difference. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know. And I'm so proud of you, Gerald. I'm so proud of what you've built. I wish I'd been there to help you. I wish I'd been the sister you deserved. I reached across the desk and took her hand. You're here now. That's what counts. The foundation grew faster than I'd ever imagined. By spring, we'd expanded to 20 schools. We'd launched a scholarship program that would send 50 kids to college. We'd hired a full-time staff and moved to a bigger office. Arthur came by less often, but when he did, he'd sit in the corner with his tea and just watch, his quiet smile saying everything. That one afternoon, he pulled me aside. Gerald, I need to tell you something. I've been thinking about this for a long time, and I've decided to step back. Permanently. The foundation is yours now. UVA rened it. ISTA read at him. Arthur, this was your dream. Your daughter's legacy. Exactly, he said. It's her legacy. And I can't think of a better person to carry it forward than you. You've done more with this foundation than I ever could have. You've turned it into something real. Something lasting. I'm not stepping away because I don't see a re. I'm stepping away because I trust you. Completely. I felt the weight of his words settle over me. Trust. It was such a simple word, but it meant everything. That I don't know what to say. Say you'll take it, he said. Say you'll keep doing what you're doing. Say you'll pass it on when the time comes, just like you've passed on everything else. I looked at the green cap on my desk, the one I'd worn every day for over a year. It was faded now, the edges frayed, but it was still mine. That I'll take it, I said. And I'll pass it on. I promise. Arthur smiled. It was the first real smile I'd seen from him since I'd met him. Good. Then we're done here. That night, I took the cap home and hung it on the hook by my door. I sat in my chair and looked around my apartment. It was small, cluttered with books and papers and memories. But it felt different now. Bigger. Fuller. Like a space that had finally found its purpose. The phone rang. It was Samuel. Gerald, I've got news. Good news. The law firm is dropping the case. They've withdrawn all their claims against the foundation. It's over. You've won. I sat back in my chair. We won, Sam. We all won. Maybe, he said. But you were the one who fought for it. You were the one who never gave up. You should be proud of yourself. I thought about all the twists and turns, all the moments I'd wanted to quit, all the times I'd wondered if I was strong enough to keep going. And I thought about the kids at East Side, the ones who'd shown up every day even when they had no reason to believe. I'm proud of all of us, I said. Every single one of us. The CTA anchor, I hung up the phone and looked at the green cap on my door, and I knew that everything I'd fought for was finally coming together. CTA, if you've ever had to fight for something you believed in, drop a red heart and let me know in the comments what kept you going. The year passed like water through my fingers, fast and impossible to hold. I turned 68, then 69. The foundation celebrated its second anniversary with a gala that raised more money than I'd ever seen in one room. Arthur came, we ring the green cap I'd given back to him as a gift, and we stood together on the stage, looking out at the sea of faces who'd believed in us. It's yours now, he whispered. Completely yours. I looked at the crowd. Teachers, volunteers, donors, former students. Emily was in the front row, beaming. Margaret was beside her, crying happy TRS. And Mark was in the back, working the room, making sure everyone had what they needed. He changed. Not overnight, not perfectly, but truly. He'd been sober for 11 months. He'd sta root therapy. He'd become someone the kids at the foundation looked up to. Just last week, Marcus had told me, Mr. Mark is the reason I want to be a teacher. I'd almost cried at that. Almost that the gala was a success, but the real moment came the next morning, when I went to the office to clean up. The staff had the day off, so the building was quiet. I was alone with my thoughts, sorting through thank you notes and donation receipts, when the door opened. Arthur walked in. He was wearing the cap, and he had a small box in his hands. Gerald, I need to give you something, he said. Something I've been holding on to for a long time. He set the box on my desk. It was wooden, worn smooth from handling, with a small brass latch. I opened it carefully. Inside was a photograph, old and faded, of a woman and a young girl. Arthur's wife and daughter. Eleanor and Grace. This was always my most precious possession, Arthur said. It's the only picture I have of them together. I've ride it everywhere. But I think it belongs with you now. I shook my head. Arthur, I can't take this. This is your family. Exactly, he said. And you're my family now, Gerald. You, Margaret, Emily, even Mark. You're the family I never knew I needed. You gave me back my purpose. You gave me back my hope. The least I can do is give you something to remind you of what we've built together. I looked at the photograph. The woman was smiling, her arm around the girl's shoulder. The girl was wearing a green cap, the same one Arthur had worn when I first met him. She's beautiful, I said quietly. She was, Arthur said. She would have loved you, Gerald. She would have loved everything you've done. I closed the box and held it to my chest. Thank you, Arthur. For everything. For trusting me. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. He put his hand on my shoulder. You don't have to thank me. Just keep doing what you're doing. That's all the thanks I need. A week later, Mark came to my office with a request. He was nervous, fidgeting with his sleeves, the way he used to when he was trying to hide something. Uncle Gerald, I want to ask you something. And I want you to say no if it's too much. What is it? He took a deep breath. I want to propose to Margaret again. Properly. I want to do it right this time, with love and respect and everything I should have done the first time. But I want you to be there. I want you to give me away. I read at him. Give you away. Mark, that's usually the father of the bride. I know. But you've been more of a father to me in the past year than my own father ever was. You've taught me what it means to be a man. A real man. Not the kind who tears people down, but the kind who builds them up. I want you to stand with me. Please. I didn't know what to say. The request was so unexpected, so raw, so honest. I looked at him and saw the man he'd become, not the man he'd been. I'd be honored, I said finally. I'd be honored to stand with you. He hugged me then, the first real hug we'd ever shared. It was awkward and stiff and perfect. The wedding was small, held in the Foundation's community room. Emily was the flower girl. Margaret's dress was simple, her smile radiant. Arthur officiated, his voice steady and wa-rm. And I stood beside Mark, watching him say his vows with TRS in his eyes. I promise to be the man you deserve, he said, looking at Margaret. I promise to show you every day that I've changed. I promise to love you and Emily with everything I have. I was lost, and you found me. I was broken, and you helped me heal. I love you. I'll always love you. Margaret was crying. So was Emily. So was I. After the ceremony, Mark pulled me aside. He had something in his hand, something small and familiar. A green cap. Not the original one, not Arthur's, but a new one he'd bought. I wanted to give you this, he said. Not as a replacement. As a symbol. A symbol of everything you've given me. A symbol of the man I want to be. I know I'll never be as good as you, but I want to try. I took the cap and looked at it. The color was bright, the fabric clean. It was a beginning, not an ending. Keep it, I said. We are it. And when the time comes, pass it on to someone who needs it. That's what we do, Mark. We pass it on. The months rolled on. The Foundation grew. The kids thrived. Mark and Margaret bought a house near the schools, and Emily sta root high school with a scholarship she'd earned herself. I still taught tutoring sessions sometimes, sitting with the kids who needed extra help, watching their faces light up when they understood something for the first time. Arthur came to visit every Sunday. We'd sit on the bench by the lake, watching the water, talking about everything and nothing. He was getting older, slower, but his spirit was still strong. You know what I've realized, he said one afternoon. The greatest gift I ever received wasn't the money or the success. It was the day you sat down next to me on that street corner. Everything that came after was just a bonus. I looked at him, this man who'd gone from broken wanderer to anchor, and I felt a wave of gratitude so powerful I had to blink back. TRS Arthur, you gave me a second life. You gave me purpose. You gave me a family I didn't know I needed. He smiled. We gave each other that. That's how it works. Kindness isn't a transaction. It's a cycle. And you, Gerald, are the center of that cycle. I didn't know how to respond. I just sat there, watching the gulls circle overhead, feeling the weight of the green cap on my head and the lightness in my heart. That evening, I went home and opened the wooden box Arthur had given me. I took out the photograph and held it in my hands. Eleanor and Grace, smiling at the camera, their lives cut short by a moment of tragedy. But they'd lived. They'd loved. They'd mattered. And because of them, because of Arthur, because of everyone who'd believed in me, I'd found my way back to myself. I hung the photograph on the wall next to my door, right beside the hook where my cap always rested. Two symbols of everything I'd gained and everything I'd lost and everything I'd earned. The CTA anchor. I hung that photograph on the wall and I thought about everyone who'd helped me get there, Arthur, Margaret, Emily, Mark, the kids at East Side, the strangers who believed in kindness. CTA, if this story reminded you that kindness always wins, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Comment below with the one person who believed in you when you needed it most. And if you haven't already, subscribe to follow the next chapter of this journey. Because we're all in this together, and every moment of kindness matters more than you'll ever know.